So everybody has a vision for what they would do if they won the lottery.
Everybody wants the good life, but not everybody gets the good life, right? Imagine for a second, if right now, today, how much more successful would you be if you just started a company 50-50 with Bill Gates as your business partner, and he was using every trick of the trade that he used to build Microsoft into one of the biggest companies in the world? Imagine how much money you'd have in your bank account today, how much more money I should say, if Warren Buffett was teaching you how to invest in the stock market, showing you what he used to build Berkshire Hathaway into a $140 billion company. Imagine how much happier you'd be today if the Dalai Lama was your personal guide, showing you how to find fulfillment in life, in the little things that most people overlook. Imagine how healthy you'd be today if, when you woke up, you went down to your gym and Arnold Schwarzenegger was waiting there. He was your personal trainer, right? Showing you how he built his body into the most fit body maybe ever, right? Imagine the change you would be making in the world, the injustice you'd be solving today if Mother Teresa and you were running a charity together.
Everybody's lost and the world's the blind leading the blind. So the ultimate adventure to me is not just like bungee jumping or something like that or going to the Amish. It's trying to get insight and see life as a puzzle, and your goal in life is to seek the adventures that piece the puzzle together, so that at the end of your life, you like kind of get it. You kind of get it. I feel like most people don't get what life is. Like, think about it. It's like, what is life? Like, why are we driven with some basic instincts? What's the purpose, you know? Lose to organisms that can learn through other people's trial and error. Is anybody here, we got a little live audience, anybody here ever had to be hit by a car to learn to look both ways? I didn't. I kind of learned from just somebody telling me, big car, 2 tons, velocity, smash, dead. And I now always look both ways. So if your myth is that the only way you're gonna learn is just through massive mistakes and trials and error, you haven't read Richard Dawkins' book. If you believe in evolution, or even you don't, you believe in creationism or whatever, why do we have big brains?
Should you work harder? Is hard work the key? Is hustle the key? I hear a lot of different opinions. I just want to say this. I feel like I live in a world that's the exact opposite. I feel like I live in a world where millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions, even billions of people are working their ass off. I remember going to India in the third world. People wake up at dawn and work till dusk picking aluminum out of trash heaps. Should they work harder to get ahead? I'm always reminded of this story that my mentor Alan Nation told me. He said, Tai, and I don't know if this is a true story, but it gets the point across. There was a plane flying over South America. It crash landed, and it was full of all these engineers, all these hard workers. And the hard workers got out, and there were some machetes, and they all grabbed a machete, and they began to hack their way through the jungle. Chop, 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 chop. Flurries of activity, boy. They were working hard, but they forgot something. Don't ever confuse flurries of activity with accomplishment. Activity doesn't always equal achievement. So they were chopping through, and luckily for them, one person got out of the plane. Instead of working hard, went and climbed up a big tree and looked out and surveyed the landscape and yelled down to the group.
Motivation is different than purpose. I'll give you an example. So if I say my purpose is to get 1 million kids in the ghetto reading books. I do a lot of stuff with reading. It's kind of one of my things. That's a purpose. So I like to think of purpose as vision. A vision is relatively pointless because I've never met a person, successful or or unsuccessful, who doesn't have a vision. Take your friend who never does anything, the laziest friend you have. If you sit down with them and you go, what would you like to accomplish in life? They'll tell you, they'll talk for it. Just ask people what they'll do if they win the lottery. The what's it at now? $1.2 billion. I read that if you bought 1,800 tickets a week since the time of Christ, you still today would not have good odds that you would win. So everybody has a vision for what they would do if they won the lottery, but not everybody has the motivation to get there. So I think of a GPS in my car. I think of your purpose as the end goal that you put in your maps. Maybe we go to heaven or hell after, maybe there's an afterlife, maybe there isn't. I've never been there, so I can't speak on it. But I can tell you, you get one chance on this planet. And if you optimize for an entrepreneur, what about your health? What about love? What about happiness? I know miserable entrepreneurs that are fat, out of shape. I don't want to be them. I'm saying you optimize for the moment, but in optimizing for the moment, you also predict that you'll probably be alive tomorrow. And I can tell you that with all certainty. The life, the good life, is the only noble target to seek. It'll help society, because as you make your life optimized, genuinely, you rub off on other people and you optimize their life too. When you only seek money, you're gonna create a world where everybody only optimizes for maximum profit, which is where McDonald's comes from at all. You know what impressed me? People are in good shape physically. Like, they're lean, they're strong, they're healthy.
You kind of get it. I feel like most people don't get what life is. Like, think about it. It's like, what is life? Like, why are we driven with some basic instincts? What's the purpose, you know? I like evolutionary psychology. So all these things have kind of led me down this bizarre place, and here I am with you. Like, happiness, there's so many books now about happiness. There's a good one called Happiness Hypothesis by Jonathan Haidt. But at the core thing, to me, happiness is like soup. It's like, if you make chicken noodle soup, but you forget the chicken, it's not chicken noodle soup. If you forget to put the broth in, it's just chicken and noodles. If you forget the noodles. So that's what I mean. Like, happiness is a compilation of a whole bunch of stuff you do right. If you look at an actual scientific explanation of what makes you successful, it is not just hard work. If that's true, construction workers would be the wealthiest people in the world. Waiters and busboys, they work harder than the owner. It's the most scientific one, and one of it puts you in 25, there's 25 traits, human personality. This is the most updated scientific test. And one of them is openness to new experience and unconventionality. So I've never taken the approach of trying to read, you know, everything people, definitely don't read what most people recommend you. Definitely don't read what's at the front of Barnes and Nobles always. You have to know, where do you want to be in 20 years, specifically? Like, you're in media. So let's say you didn't have a mentor and you were asking me this question, I would say, where do you want to be in 20 years? Who's the closest to you, who you want to be? And let's say the answer is, I don't know, who would that answer be? Maybe we become Epicurean, maybe we will die out in something. I believe in humans in the long run. I think America's still strong. This is not my area of expertise, so I'm gonna give you an amateur answer. My amateur answer is, we'll survive. The media will focus on a crap load of drama, but there'll be millions of individuals living nice, normal lives with happy families.
I think it's part adventure. I have this thing that there's the 4 M's of motivation, what motivate us. I have all these cool mentor guys that I now have, like, built this advisory board. So I try to do 1 phone call a day with somebody really smart, whether it's an author or a PhD or and there's a guy who is a very famous psychologist, and he wrote a book. And I said, I got this theory of motivation. He's like a Wharton professor, and he listened to it and he was like, I think that's right. I think that's about right. He had a few changes, and it's the 4 M's. So you have material things, mating. The third one would be, you have mastery, which is like status. And the last one is movement or momentum, freedom. I wouldn't be able to do it exactly, but I would try. Like, my lifestyle, sometimes I'm like, don't mess it up, Tai. And it doesn't take as much. Like, I spend now $100,000 a month on mentors, traveling to them, doing stuff, whatever related. And so I would scale everything back, but I would keep every element that I would literally do my best. So for example,